Children, how are you? I am Meenakshi Tripathi, Principal Government High School Osa Raebareli, and today I will teach you the second lesson of your course, A Fellow Traveler by A.G. Gardiner. Children, before we start with the lesson, let us know something about the author, A.G. Gardiner. A.G. Gardiner is an English writer. He was a journalist and also an editor, children. His personal and informal essays are very popular, children, because he was a genius of writing. He has written different types of essays like literary, social, and political, and also philosophical, children. He was the editor of the Daily News. He writes with a sociological and moralistic perspective with a tinge of humor. In this particular lesson that we will read today, he has beautifully blended philosophy of life with a humor. Now, let us start with the lesson, children. But before I start the lesson, let me ask you some questions. My first question to you is, children, have you ever traveled in a passenger train? I'm quite sure you will say yes, because we all travel by such trains. Children, all of you know that these are the slow trains. As my second question is, what is the speed of the train? Children, all of you know that a passenger train is a slow train. The writer was traveling by a slow train and it used to stop at all the stations. He has beautifully described his experience of the journey. Children, my third question is, what happens when the train stops at the station? All of you will say that when the train stops at the stations, the passengers start getting down from the train. And some of the passengers also go to buy the things. Now children, the lesson that we will read today also starts with the same note. Because A.G. Gardiner is also traveling by a stopping train and he has beautifully described his experience of the travel. Children, let us start with the lesson. The writer entered into the carriage. Children, I want to tell you that this lesson has the theme of freedom, modesty, and uncertainty. The lesson begins with the note, I do not know which of us got into the carriage first. It means the lesson is beginning with the note of uncertainty. The writer does not know that which of us got into the carriage first. Either it was he or his fellow traveler. He was not quite sure. But when he entered into the carriage, he didn't notice his fellow traveler. It was the last train from London to a Midland town. As I told you in the very beginning, children, it was a stopping train. It was a slow train and it used to stop at all the small stations that came in the way. So children, it gave the feeling that the journey would never come to an end, because the writer has told that it was an infinitely leisurely train. Infinite means it will never come to an end, and leisurely means it was not at all in a hurry. So he felt that perhaps this journey would never come to an end because it used to stop at all the stations and it was taking a lot of time, children. This gives an understanding of eternity. This is the tinge of humor that you can find. Means the writer wants to tell you that eternity means that will never come to an end. He felt that this journey would never come to an end. The train was tolerably full in the beginning. Tolerably full means in the beginning there were many people in the compartment. But as the train moved forward, the passengers continued to alight in ones and twos. And the moment came when the writer felt that he was all alone in the compartment. He felt that he was all alone in the compartment. Children, he has beautifully described the present sense of freedom that you can enjoy. As I told you in the very beginning that we have the theme of freedom. The writer wants to tell that what types of freedom you can enjoy. Children, paragraph 2 is very interesting because the writer has beautifully described the freedom that we can enjoy when we are all alone in the compartment. As the writer told that he was all alone in the compartment, again he is telling that you can enjoy the freedom when you are all alone. We have the theme of freedom in this paragraph. The writer tells that you can do whatever you like. You can talk as loud as you wish because there is no one to hear you. You can argue with your friend. You can imagine that your friend is in front of you and you can fight with him. And at the same time, he is telling that you can even defeat your friend because there is no fear of counter-stroke. So the writer is telling that you can enjoy the freedom. The moral may be that whenever we get time, we must avail the opportunity, children. If we get such opportunity when we can enjoy the freedom, you must do that, children. He is saying that there is a pleasant sense of freedom about being alone in a carriage that is jolting noisily through the night. As you know, that he was sitting in a very slow train. The night was gradually approaching and it was jolting. Jolting means it was taking jerks and it was causing noise also. And he told that this type of freedom is enjoyable. You must enjoy that freedom. You can do whatever you want because there is no one to check. Liberty unrestrained. Unrestrained means uncontrolled. There is no one to control. There is no one to check that liberty. So you can do whatever you want. Children, usually this happens in life. That we have lots and lots of people all around us. And we are not in the position to do whatever we want to do. So here, when you are all alone in the compartment and there is nobody to hear you, there is nobody to see you, you can enjoy the freedom. You can enjoy the liberty because there is no one to oppose. There is no one to check. So it is liberty that is uncontrolled. You can sing, you can dance, you can stand on your head, you can play marble on the floor. So whatever you want, you can do. And it is a liberty in an agreeable form. Agreeable form means there is nobody to oppose. You can do what you like. You can sing, dance, step or two, you can practice golf, you can play marble on the floor because there is no one, there is no obstruction there. He told that you can shut the window, you can open the window, you can shut both the windows and open both. You can go on shutting them and opening them again and again as a sort of festival of freedom that you are enjoying, children. This is a beautiful description that he has given. You can enjoy the freedom. You can do whatever you want to do. You can lie at full length on the cushion and you can sit in any corner you want to sit. Or you can try sitting in all the corners. Wherever you want to sit, you can sit. So these are all the small things, but the writer has really described them in a very beautiful way, children. He has told this liberty must be enjoyed by you children, because this is the rare situation that you get in your life when you are all alone. There is no one to hear, there is no one to object, there is no one to check, and you can enjoy you to the fullest, children. So it's a sort of festival of freedom that you can enjoy. It's a celebration that you can do. One can enjoy the luxury of breaking the heart of Dora. Dora, the full form of Dora is Defence of Realm Act. It provided British government many rights at the time of World War I, children. The writer wants to tell that you can break even the rules and regulations, and nobody will know that you are breaking them. Children, usually it happens that you have only one seat reserved for you when you travel by a train. But when you are all alone, you can sit anywhere you want to sit. It means you are breaking the laws. But there is no one to check. There is no one to oppose. So you are breaking the laws. You are escaping the law, but there is no one to check that you have done it. So this is the liberty that you can enjoy. The theme of liberty and freedom has beautifully been described in this paragraph, children. The writer told that when his last fellow passenger had gone, he didn't do any of these things. Although he is suggesting that you must enjoy the freedom, but as far as the writer is concerned, he didn't do any of these things. Rather, he did a very ordinary thing. He started looking out of the window, children. As he told you that gradually it was getting night. So he was looking out of the window. It was a calm summer night. It was very calm because the night was approaching. So the atmosphere was very calm and quiet, children. The pale reminiscence of the day still lingered on the northern sky because the sun has just set. So the northern sky was still looking pale. Reminiscence, the memory of the day are still present in the sky because the day has just finished and the night is gradually approaching. So the pale reminiscence of the day still lingered in the northern sky. The writer was looking out of the window. He didn't do any of these things that he had told about. Rather, what did the writer do? He lit a cigarette, he sat on a cushion and he began to read. This was the very ordinary thing that the writer did. He lit the cigarette, sat on the cushion and began to read. Although the writer was feeling that he was all alone, children, but this was the moment when he realized that there was someone else also in the compartment. He was not all alone. He was really surprised to see his fellow traveler. And children, you will also be surprised to know about the fellow traveler. It was a wingy, nippy, intrepid insect. You can see the adjectives that the writer is using for the small insect that is called a mosquito. It was wingy. It was having wings. It was nippy. It was very clever, children, because you will find out that it dodged every attack of the writer. It means it was having intelligence. Intrepid. It was very courageous because it was not afraid of the author. It was not afraid of the writer, and very impudently it sat on his hand, on his neck. He was really surprised to see, and it was the introduction of the fellow traveler. That was a small insect called a mosquito. Children, that mosquito was very courageous. It was very bold, as the writer had told. It sat on his neck. The writer was surprised to see it because he was such a large animal. He had a feeling of superiority in himself, and he was thinking that the little insect like mosquito could not disturb his repose. He was busy in reading the book, but the mosquito came and sat on his neck. He flicked him off because he was thinking that it was a little mosquito and he could not do any harm to him, and it was very easy to remove him. But he was mistaken, children. He had a feeling of superiority, but it was not easy to defeat this little insect. The mosquito was very clever, as the writer has told you. It investigated its 3 dimension. You can see the use of the word investigated. It was very minutely, it was observing the whole compartment. The 3 dimensions, the breadth, length and height, means it was going in all the corners of the compartment and checking everything very well. You can see the tinge of humor in this lesson. The writer has very beautifully dealt with a very ordinary topic in an exceptionally interesting way, children. The mosquito decided it was gradually developing into a personality. You can see, children. The writer told that the mosquito decided that there was nothing more interesting than that large animal in the corner. You can see the use of the word large animal. The writer calls himself large animal. He had a feeling of superiority, and he felt that the mosquito was thinking that perhaps he was the most interesting thing in that compartment, because the mosquito did not go anywhere. Rather, it came and sat on the back of his hand. Really, it was developing into a personality, children. Children, today we will stop here, but let me summarize all the things that we have studied today. Children, I told you that this beautiful lesson, A Fellow Traveler, is written by A.J. Gardiner. And A.J. Gardiner is a master of writing beautiful essays. In this particular essay, he has blended philosophy with humor. And very ordinary topic he has dealt in an interesting way, children. He was traveling by a slow train. It was a stopping train, children. It used to stop at all the stations. Children, when he boarded the train, it was tolerably full. But gradually the passengers started alighting in ones and twos. And the moment came when the writer was left all alone in the compartment. Children, you can see the theme of uncertainty throughout the lesson. The writer begins the lesson. I do not know which one of us got into the carriage first. It means he is not certain that he was all alone in the compartment. His fellow traveler was also there in the compartment. He is not certain about that, children. He had beautifully described all the things that we can do when we are all alone in the compartment. We can enjoy the freedom to the fullest. We can sing, we can dance, we can play golf, and we can do lots and lots of things. We can stand on our head, we can argue with our friend, we can speak as loud as we want to speak, because there is nobody to check, there is nobody to oppose. This is liberty unrestrained. This is uncontrolled liberty. There is no one to oppose, there is nobody to check. And this is also agreeable because nobody is there to object. So you can do whatever you want. So the poet is telling that if you get such opportunities in your life, you must avail those opportunities, children, because this is a sort of festival of freedom that you need to enjoy, children. These are very rare moments in your life, and very beautifully the writer has described all those moments, all those things that you can enjoy, children. And the writer has also told that the train was moving in the night. It was the calm summer night, and he found that there was pale reminiscence of the day still lingered in the northern sky. But the writer is saying that I did not do any of these things. Rather, I sat down, lit a cigarette, and started reading the newspaper. Only then he realized that there was someone else also in the compartment, and this was his fellow traveler. He had beautifully described the fellow traveler, and it was a little insect. It was a nippy, intrepid insect that we vaguely call a mosquito. Mosquito was very clever. It was very courageous, and the writer was feeling that he was such a superior person and the mosquito would not stand in front of him. But it was his mistake, because gradually the mosquito was developing into a personality. He was not able to defeat him in the only encounter. He was not able to defeat him because the mosquito felt that he was the most interesting thing in the whole compartment, children. Now, children, I want you to read the lesson thoroughly, very well, so that you can understand all the important incidents of this story. Now I will give you some questions for the homework, children. My first question is, what sort of train was it that the author boarded? I think this will be quite clear to you. You have to write, what sort of train was it that the author boarded? The author was traveling by. You have to write down. The second question is, explain the phrase pleasant sense of freedom about being alone in a compartment. I told you that this lesson has a theme of freedom. Now you have to describe, you have to explain this phrase, pleasant sense of freedom about being alone in the compartment. What are the things that you can do when you are all alone in the compartment, when you are free in the compartment, children? Now my third question is, when did the author become aware of his fellow traveler? What was the time when the writer became aware of his fellow traveler? You have to write the answer. My fourth question is more interesting, children. The question is, you have to describe the fellow traveler in your own words, children. Don't use the words that the writer has used, rather, in your own words, describe the fellow traveler of the writer. Children, I want all of you to do these questions as your homework and read the lesson thoroughly